Om. Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta Janakalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam. Today and for the next few classes, it's going to be a very important topic in the Bhagavad Gita. So please make sure you're here, steady, all in tune, because these are verses so worth memorizing, worth reflecting upon again and again and again. The section we're going to talk about is Sthitaprajna Lakshana. Before we move on to that, let us read the verses we covered last week, and we will make our way to Sthitaprajna Lakshana. From verse 51 to 53. Let us read those verses. Karmajam buddhi yuktahi halam tyaktva manishinaha janma bandha vinirmuktaha padam gacchantyanāmayam yada te moha kalilam buddhirvyatitarishyati tada gantasi nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutasya cha shruti vipratipannate yadha sthasyati nischala samadhavachala buddhihi tada yogamavapsyasi. So now let us just see the train of thought of Arjuna. Okay, Arjuna was breaking down. He was completely breaking down in the battlefield. Now we're going into the beginning of the Gita. Breaking down, he surrenders to Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna gives him Atma Jnana. Lord Krishna gives him the knowledge of the self and says, Arjuna, the wise do not grieve because they know who they are. They neither grieve for the living nor the dead. And who you are that changeless, eternal self. The self which is never born, which will never die. Indestructible self. No weapon can cleave it, sword can cut it, fire can burn it, water can wet it. You are that which is never the object of anything. You are the ultimate subject. And you are the non-doer, the non-enjoyer. You are Atman. And therefore, you should not grieve. From the absolute standpoint, you should not grieve. But Arjuna doesn't get this. This is not easy to get. Arjuna doesn't get this knowledge. He hears it, but it doesn't really go in. So Lord Krishna said, now you must engage in Karma Yoga. Engage in Karma Yoga because that mind which is supposed to receive this knowledge is not able to, is not pure enough. So go purify your mind, clean it up, get rid of these likes, dislikes, these blockages, these vasanas, clean it up with Karma Yoga. And once you clean it up, then this knowledge will really make sense to you. So then Lord Krishna tells Arjuna how to engage in karma yoga. And that we have discussed, extensively. How to dedicate oneself to some higher cause, and how to be an instrument, and whatever comes out of that, to receive it as prasad. So this is how the thought was flowing. And Lord Krishna told Arjuna that yoga, karma yoga, samatva, even-mindedness is this karma yoga. When one engages in karma yoga, because their actions are dedicated to God, to Guru, for their growth, for the happiness of all, there is no selfishness there. And so one can be even-minded. There's no, I want this to happen, I want that to happen. There's no insistence. And he says, yogaha karmasu kaushalam. Skill in action is yoga. What is the skill in karma yoga? We're able to engage in action without getting bound. That's a skill. We engage in action for purification, and so we don't get bound. And so then now Lord Krishna is continuing the thought flow, and he says, now how do you make yourself slowly get to Jnana Yoga? Because remember, this whole chapter says, there is what we call Sankhya Buddhi or Jnana Yoga, and there's Yoga Buddhi or Karma Yoga. How does one make their way out of this Karma Yoga? So he says, once in verse 51, once we're able to let go of the fruits of the results of action, what happens is we are not creating new vasanas. We are letting go of our likes and dislikes. We are letting go of joy and sorrow and seeing it for our growth. We're letting go of merit, demerit. We're letting go of all of that. So all of that doesn't disturb the mind. See, joy and sorrow are a disturbance in the mind. Joy will make the mind arise so high that you're so involved in what you're happy in. Sorrow will make the mind rise so low. Same with merit and demerit. What is that? Merit will make the mind rise high, demerit rise low. Likes make the mind rise high, dislikes make the mind rise low. All of these dualities, what they're doing to our mind is they're making our mind high and low. This high and low of the mind, it cannot do vichara. It cannot inquire. A mind that's so satisfied in the world, so enthralled with the world, that mind is not going to inquire. And the mind that's really sunk in sorrow, it's not also going to inquire. Not in all cases. Some like Arjuna are rare. But sometimes they're so disturbed. They don't know what to do that they can't even think of anything. They can't even think of other things because they're just so down. They're so depressed. So these highs and lows of the mind, created by the duality of our experiences, it cannot make the mind think. It cannot make the mind go inward. And that's why Karma Yoga is prescribed to let go of all of this. Because once we're able to let go of all of this, the mind has some shanti, has some peace. Then what you do with that mind, it says manishina. Take that mind, inquire into that mind. And when you inquire, then you realize who you are, that Atman. And you then attain that realization. So this is what happens. Now, question comes is, how do I know that I've done enough of Karma Yoga? Like what is the result of Karma Yoga? So very clearly in verse 52, he says, when your buddhi, when your mind, this moha kalilam, this dirt, this impurity of vasanas, of likes and dislikes, of selfishness, when your mind has crossed over that, you will gain what is called vairagya or dispassion. The result of Karma Yoga is dispassion. It's this vairagya. What is this vairagya? Vairagya, as I said, is this absence of desire for the world, for here and hereafter. Means we've seen the limitation of the world. I've tried to work with the world. I've tried to do all I can. I've tried to engage in the world. I tried selfless work. I tried all kinds of things to fulfill me. I'm still not happy. I'm still not happy. I even have vairagya from karma yoga because I realized that what I'm seeking is something permanent, something that's never ending, something that's so independent. But I'm not getting that in the world. What I want, I'm not getting in the world. Therefore, I have no desire to pursue the world for joy anymore. That feeling is called vairagya. That doesn't mean I won't interact in the world. It means I will not pursue the world for pleasure or joy anymore, because I clearly understand out of my own spiritual maturity that joy is not there. It is not there. This vairagya comes when that karma yoga has done its job of purifying the mind. It can also come through bhakti yoga. It can come through raja yoga. Here we happen to be speaking in the context of karma yoga. That's the result we're aiming for. So whatever gives us that result, that's fine. Our result is seeing the limitations of the world because of our own maturity. Remember, I told you it's not this sudden thing that somebody happened to pass away and then I have absolutely no desire for the world. Wait for a week or 2 weeks, it'll come back. That's not the kind of vairagya we're talking about. It's intense. It's intense. When this vairagya comes, then the pursuit of knowledge will be very fruitful. Because you're clear now. You're clear. Whatever I want, world's not doing it. World's not giving it to me. So now I must pursue something else. What is that? I must pursue the knowledge of the self. So therefore, in verse 53, then, he talks about the knowledge of the self. Once that vairagya is ripe, what do? You engage in shravana. You engage in shravana. What is this shravana? Now, I'm just going to expound a little bit more on each of these things, shravanam, mananam, and nidithiyasana, because these are important concepts to understand who a realized being is, right? Before we even get to that place. Shravanam means I've listened to the scriptures. I've listened, but I understand the essence of the scriptures, and I understand that knowledge is the way to liberation. Karma yoga is not the way to liberation. Karma yoga brings purity. Bhakti yoga is not the way to liberation. Bhakti yoga will bring again purity. Raja yoga or Ashtanga yoga, again, that's not the way to liberation. It will bring purity. So what is it? It's a preparation for liberation. It's a preparation for liberation. It is not the main thing that will give liberation. This must be very clear. And once this is clear, then I understand that the only thing that bestows liberation is knowledge. Why? Because in Shravanam, I understand that the problem here is ignorance. The problem here is ignorance of the self. I am ignorant of who I am. Because I am ignorant of who I am, and I feel like I am this limited body, mind, intellect, then what happens is I feel like I need the world to complete me. I feel like I need something to complete me because I'm limited. This body is limited, so I need something more to complete me. This mind is limited. I need something more to spruce it up and design it. This intellect is limited. I need to grow it more. And so my whole pursuit in life is to make my body as unlimited as possible. Dye my hair, get Botox, exercise, look young, because I want my body to be unlimited. I want my mind to be unlimited. So what do? I engage in all kinds of hobbies and pursuits so that my mind becomes so beautiful and unlimited. I want my intellect to be unlimited. So what do? I study all kinds of things because I want my intellect to be sharp. And the whole life goes in this because we identified with this limitation. We seek outside to make us unlimited. That's our mistake. And we naturally want to be unlimited because we are unlimited. Our true nature is unlimited. So we naturally gravitate towards that. So this ignorance is gonna make us wanna desire everything. It's gonna make us wanna go out into the world. It's gonna make us wanna sweat and toil and achieve. It's gonna make us wanna do that. But once I know the problem is ignorance, then what is the solution? The solution is knowledge. Because the problem is ignorance, I'm ignorant of who I am, the solution is knowledge. In Vedanta, the example that we give is the snake on the rope. You see the snake on the rope, right? Now, tell me, now if it's a dim light, room with a dim light, you think you see a snake, it's a rope, right? Now, how will that snake go away? Will that snake go away by trying to lift that snake and go? No, it will not go away by karma yoga. Will that snake go away by trying to meditate on that snake? No, it will not go away by bhakti yoga. The snake will go when you turn on the light and realize there's no snake. That's how the snake will go. So when we understand this, then we know knowledge is the way to liberation. So Shravana means I know what the central message of the scriptures are, which is what? Brahma Satyam. Brahman is the ultimate truth. Jagan Mithya. This world is just an appearance. The snake is an appearance. Jiva Brahmeva na paraha. Jivo Brahmeva na paraha. This jiva, this atma, this self is nothing but Brahman. This is the message of the scriptures. And plus, not only am I clear that this is the message, I'm clear that knowledge is the way to liberation. This must be clear. If I'm still thinking that other things are going to make me free, then I still need to study. I still need to read. I still need to listen. So Shravanam is this absolute message of the scriptures. One comes to that. The second part, Mananam, means that sometimes after Shravanam, there's still some questions. Why do they say knowledge? Is it really knowledge? What is the nature of this knowledge? And can knowledge really remove that ignorance? Or how am I really Brahman? How is this world really an appearance? These questions will come. They will come. So Mananam is that, that sadhana of actually doing more inquiry to remove these doubts. So studying text, listening, reflecting, and it's important to just mull over it, right? Just really think about it. Vedanta is a sadhana of thinking. It's a lot of thinking because it's a simple problem. It's just turning on the light to understand that there is no snake. So it's a lot of thinking. So that's mananam. Now, does this mean that mananam? Does it mean that all my doubts should go? All the doubts about this Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, all the doubts about that the self is Brahman, that the world is an appearance, any doubts related to that, those doubts should go. Completely, they should go. And why? Because the very doubter goes. The very doubter is the ego. That goes. So there is no real doubt anymore. Will other doubts about other scriptures come along? Yeah, they'll come along, but this doubt about I am Brahman and that the world is an appearance, this doubt should not come if mananam is complete. If it comes, mananam still is required. It still is required. So at the end of Shravanam, I understand the central message of the scriptures, that I am Brahman, this world is an appearance, and I understand that knowledge is the key to liberation, because ignorance is the problem. At the end of Mananam, I have firm conviction. I have firm conviction, and it's doubtless. I'm doubtlessly clear that I am Brahman, the world is an appearance. I'm doubtlessly clear about this, and that knowledge is the solution. And my doubt can't be shaken. Now, the next step comes, which is called Nidithiyasana. Now, this is where many people have many questions. What is this Nidithiyasana? What do you do in this thing? So what you do in Nidithiyasana is contemplate on this knowledge. Well, how do you contemplate on this knowledge? Okay, so this is what one does. It's called Brahma Abhyasa. It means to dwell in that teaching, right? Whatever a saying, Upanishad, whatever mantra has really touched me, whatever verse about the self has really touched me, keep it in the mind. Keep it in the mind. Whether you're walking, whether you're cooking, whether you're sitting, just mull over it. Keep it in the mind. Just keep it in the mind and keep letting it sink in. Because what happens after Mananam, though we are very clear, it's still not sinking in. It's still not becoming one with us. And so in Nidithiyasana, there's a lot of this just contemplating in it, in and through my daily interactions while I'm driving, just thinking while I'm walking, but also contemplating sitting quietly. That's a must, right? When I sit quietly, what do? I bring this knowledge to the mind. I bring this knowledge to the mind. Whatever verse it is, whatever mantra it is, I bring it to the mind. And when I bring it to the mind, I just focus on it. I just let my mind dwell on it. And eventually what happens is the mind becomes silent. One way or the other, the mind becomes silent. Either I'm focusing on the source of my thoughts and remaining as a witness, I'm focusing on the space between my thoughts, mind will become silent. But what this means is that the knowledge is slowly sinking in. It's slowly sinking in. And by this process of Shravanam, Mananam, and Nidithyasanam, what is gained is what we call Aparoksha Jnana, or direct knowledge of the self. So this Nidithyasanam, as I said, is contemplating on that knowledge in and through my transactions, and even when I'm sitting down, because it hasn't become part of me yet. My vasanas may be very strong, you know. I may be clear that I'm Brahman, but I am the body, I am the mind may be so strong. So this Nidithyasanam is done in order to make the knowledge stronger than my vasanas. Now, having said that, some people, in Shravanam itself, in Shravanam itself, because of the grace of the Guru and the scriptures and God, they're able to get this knowledge right away. It just clicks. It just clicks. But some people, after Shravanam and Mananam, after just listening and after just clearly doing vichara, it's clearly just understanding it, reflecting on it, they get it. It's done. Some people, they require to mull over it. As I said, they contemplate on it, think about it, bring it to their mind again and again. Then they get it. But either way, they're getting this from the Mahavakya, from the great statements. This is that knowledge, which is from our scriptures, given by the Guru, that is what's causing this aparoksha jnana to take place. So in some you will find it's very, very easy, direct. Some you will find that, yeah, it's taking a little bit time. And some you will find that, you know, it's taking a long time. Now, when does aparoksha jnana happen? When does this crystal clear, doubtless knowledge happen? It depends on the student. It depends on the student. Depends on how pure the mind of the student is. Depends on how sharp the mind of the student is. Depends on that. And that's why karma yoga, bhakti yoga, raja yoga are prescribed to make that mind pure and sharp. Then what happens? Then what happens after this? There's also that. Then what happens? This knowledge takes place. And once this knowledge takes place, it's not going to go away. It's not going to go away. It's there. It's there, but what happens is it's not firm. You know, so it's like you get it. It's like when you go to a retreat or a camp, right? Or, you know, in this environment when you're in a lecture every day, you're getting it. You're getting that knowledge. You're understanding it. It's there. You can't say you didn't get it. You got it. You got it. But what happens is it's not firm. You can't hold on to it. By the time you leave the camp or that retreat, again, it's like, whoa, what happened? What happened? Right there and then I had it. But then, oh, what happened? And this is our experience. So that we get it. We get it. Especially we're in that environment because of the grace of the Guru, because of God's grace, we get it. But it's not firm. And because it's not firm, then what happens is it doesn't manifest in our lives. So although we know, yeah, and we've had glimpses of it, although we know, we cannot live it. It can't really manifest in our lives. It's not steady. It's not firm. Why is it not firm? It's not firm because our vasanas are really deep. Our vasanas are very deep, where our mind may have still a lot of impurities, or our mind may be very distracted. It's not able to focus. So what is recommended then is once this aparoksha jnana, this knowledge of the self takes place, is then to work on making it firm. Okay, so I've said a lot of things. So just to backtrack a little bit, one is the stage of someone who's ignorant. What do they have to do? Gain knowledge, right? Now, state of somebody who is doing Shravana, Manana, Nidithiyasana. What do you have to do? Gain knowledge. Okay, stage number 3. I received the knowledge. I got the knowledge. I know. I have no doubt. I know. What do? Make that knowledge firm. Make it firm. Make it firm. And how you make it firm is through vasana kshaya. Vasana kshaya means really thinking about all of these vasanas that are rising up and why are they rising up and what's the source of all of these things. And manonasha means the practice of samadhi, practice of sitting quietly. Make that knowledge firm. Why should you make that knowledge firm? So that knowledge can manifest in our lives. Because if that knowledge is not firm, it will not manifest in our lives. We will just know, we will not live. And this is the big problem in many of us Vedanta seekers. We may know, we cannot live. So now we know what we have to do. Depending on what stage we are, depending on what we need, that is a sadhana that we must focus on. Okay? Now, I hope this is clear so far. Yes? Okay. Now, I'm going to move a little bit further. Okay? So now somebody has gained knowledge, and Now we're entering into this realm of where someone has gained knowledge and is firm in that knowledge. Okay? So there's someone who gained knowledge and who's not firm. That's called Sthitaprajna. Prajna means knowledge, but that knowledge is not firm. Asthita. So Sthitaprajna, right? So many of us Sthitaprajna. We cannot live. It's not there. But now we're entering into the section of Sthitaprajna, one whose knowledge is firm because they have had this practice of vasanakshaya, inquiring into all of these vasanas that reside in them and understanding their source. And they have the practice of manonasha, or what we call samadhi abhyasa. Because of these practices, they're able to make their knowledge firm. And because they're able to make their knowledge firm, this is fully manifest in their lives. And we are looking at who this Sthitaprajna is. This is where we are at. Okay? Now we go into the next verse, 54. We will read that again. So you understand now where Arjuna is. Lord Krishna said, this is your karma yoga will bring purification. Jnana yoga will bring the realization of the self. That's a result of jnana yoga. And so one who does shravanam, mananam, and nidithiyasana, as explained in 53, and abides in the self, then that person realizes. So then Arjuna becomes curious, who is this person who realizes? And this is verse 54, Arjuna's question. Okay, all right. Now, I don't see Padmini Ji here, so Bhargavi Aunty, would you be able to chant after? Okay. All right, okay. Verse number 54. Arjuna uvacha.
Arjuna uvacha.
Sthitaprajnasya ka bhasha.
Sthitaprajnasya ka bhasha.
Samadhistasya keshava.
Samadhistasya keshava.
Sthitadih kim prabhasheta.
Sthitadih kim prabhasheta.
Kimasita vrajeta kim.
Kimasita vrajeta kim.
Arjuna uvacha. Sthitaprajnasya ka bhasha. Samadhistasya keshava. Sthitadih kim prabhasheta. Kimasita vrajeta kim. So Arjuna now is very curious. Who is this realized being? Who is this enlightened being? So the person who has firm knowledge is called Sthitaprajna. And the term that we use nowadays, we use the term enlightened. We use the term aware or realized. Who is this realized being? Arjuna says, Sthitaprajnasya ka bhasha. Of this person of steady knowledge, what is the description? Ka bhasha. What is the description? Samadhistasya keshava. Of the one who's merged in samadhi. What is their description? Sthitadihi kim prabhasheta. And how is it that they speak? How do they speak? Prabhasheta. Kimasita. How do they sit? Vrajeta kim. And how do they walk? Or how do they interact in this world? So, what, O Keshava, is a description of him who has steady wisdom, who's merged in the superconscious state. How does one of steady wisdom speak? How does he sit? How does he walk? So now this is a very beautiful question from Arjuna, because if he didn't ask this question, then we would never know. Now, one thing we have to see is Observe the way that Lord Krishna has lifted Arjuna. Arjuna was in a distressed state. He was in the battlefield. He was breaking down. He dropped his Gandiva. His head was spinning. And now he's at such a level where he's asking, who is a realized being? How can you believe that? This is the beauty of the teaching of Lord Krishna. Not only do we see what he's teaching, how is he teaching? He has lifted Arjuna's mind to such a sublime state that this kind of question can come from Arjuna. And Arjuna's question is so reflective of Lord Krishna's answer in the last verse. So if you look in verse 53, there are three sadhanas, right? There's Shravanam, Mananam, and Nidithiyasana, which we talked about. And this is indicated in verse 53. And we saw these words last week. Excuse me. Here as well, Sthitaprajna, that indicates one who's done Shravana, right? One who's done Shravana. Sthitadihi, one who's done Manana. Samadhistasya, so one who's done Nidithiyasana. So how Lord Krishna put the answers, same way Arjuna is asking. The one who's gone through Shravanam, the one who's gone through Mananam, the one who's gone through Nidithiyasana and has realized the self and is abiding in it. How does that person live in this world? Now, when we think about this term Sthitaprajna, this is such an interesting term. We are all Sthitaprajna in something or the other. In something or the other. Some may be Sthitaprajna in cooking. Some may be Sthitaprajna in business. Some may be Sthitaprajna in music, right? What is being Sthitaprajna? So I'll give you an example, then you'll understand. You've all probably gone through this experience or have had children or grandchildren going through this experience of driver's ed, right? So you're in driver's ed, and this may be many years ago, this may be some of your kids just recently got to driver's ed. You're in driver's ed, and you go there and you learn all about driving. And they give you this book, and this book with all of the rules of how to drive in the roads and what to do. And then after that, you sit in the car with an instructor. You sit in the car with an instructor, and then there's like a sticker, be patient, student driver. You seen that? Be patient with me, right? And so the student driver is there with the instructor, and the instructor say, okay, this is where you go, this is how you do it. And so you're there. Let's say you and I are the student driver, we're there, but we're so cautious. We're just like so cautious, so alert. It's like right turn, and we're thinking, like we're looking 10 times before we make that right turn. Left turn, we're looking 10 times. And to parallel park takes us 10 minutes to parallel park because we don't know if we're gonna fit, and and then that 3-point turn it's so hard. So we take a long time. We do it, but we're still a little bit nervous. We're still a little bit scared. We do it. And even after this driver's ed, we're driving, but we're driving like to the grocery or to the post office, but we're not ready to drive in the highway yet. It's a little bit too much. So we're driving slowly here and there. It's happening, but we're hesitant to go to far distances or 2-hour drives. It's too much. 15 minutes I can do, 2 hours, a little much. And so we get in this space wherein we know how to drive, but we're still a little shaky, and anyone honks, we're like, what does that sound? We're still a little shaky. But then after years of experience, you don't even think about driving. Well, how many of us really think about driving? We don't. It's pretty scary, but we don't think about it. Just get into the car. It's automatic. We don't think, oh, I'm turning the wheel right now. No, we just get into the car, put the gas on, and we're there. So you don't even think it's just happening. Driving is just happening. Sometimes we don't even know how we get somewhere. It's already 30 minutes. We're there, isn't it? Sometimes your mind is completely somewhere else and you're driving, right? God blesses that we're all still safe in the roads, but it's so effortless. It's so incredibly effortless. That is called Sthitaprajna in driving. So what is our knowledge? Our knowledge is like the student in driver's ed. You get it. You get it. You know how to drive, but you're still like antsy, you're still scared, you're still checking everything, you're still alert, you're still like, there's still like pressure. But when you become a Sthitaprajna, it's just effortless. So like this, in every field, there's a time wherein you're kind of there, but there's a time when you're really there. And you're really there when there's practice, which we call sadhana, is practice. There's a clarity, because so clear, and there's an effortless ease to it. That's when you're there. That's when you can drive, you can cook, and you can drive anywhere, on a highway, roadside, going up, going down. You're fine to go anywhere. And that's when you're Sthitaprajna in driving. So in this knowledge of Brahman, I am Brahman. How do we know we're Sthitaprajna? A lot of practice, a lot of sadhana. As I mentioned to you last week, it takes a lot of sadhana. It's not something that, I could just, get to. A lot of sadhana, a lot of practice, a lot of clarity. Now you know what this whole thing is about. And there's a lot of ease. It's effortless. So if I'm living my life in this effortless ease of bliss, then yes, I'm Sthitaprajna. But for us, it's probably that level wherein we're still working it out, right? And in that effortlessness, there's beauty. There's beauty. When somebody's effortlessly singing, there's a beauty because the music just flows from them. When someone's effortlessly painting, there's a beauty because the painting just comes out. It seems so natural. So too with the Sthitaprajna, with the enlightened being. They're not trying to be good. It's just flowing out of them. Goodness is flowing out of them. Ease, understanding, compassion is just flowing out of them without any effort at all. And this person is who we're going to see. And as I said, there are different varieties, different kinds. We can't really explain them. But our Shastras are bringing us to some kind of understanding, just some kind of indicator, so that we can somehow conceive of it in one way or the other. And this is this section, Sthitaprajna Lakshana. And in this section, we have 18 such indicators. And in these 18, what is explained is how they speak, how they walk, and how they sit. Okay? So now I hope it's clear who a Sthitaprajna is, how they became Sthitaprajna, and what a glory they are. If we have this rare opportunity to be with a Sthitaprajna, that is just a treat. Just a treat, because it gives us so much faith that this knowledge can actually be realized and lived even today, even now. Okay? So now we're going to touch upon the first verse of the Sthitaprajna, the first description. And this verse, number 55, is really what we call the Mula. Mula means this is the main quality of the Sthitaprajna. This is what makes the Sthitaprajna Sthita or steady. Sthita, steady, prajna, wisdom. So now Lord Krishna speaks. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Prajahati Yada Kaman
Prajahati Yada Kaman
Sarvan Parthamanogatan
Sarvan Parthamanogatan
Atmanyevatmana Tushtaha
Atmanevatmana Tushtaha
Sthitaprajnastadochyate.
Sthitaprajnastadochyate.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Prajahati Yada Kaman Sarvan Parthamanogatan Atmanyevatmana Tushtaha Sthitaprajnastadochyate. So now Lord Krishna says, Yada. First he says Partha. Partha, O Arjuna. Partha, Yada. Yada. Sarvan Kaman Manogatan Prajahati. When one drops all kama. Kama means desires. Kaman, all desires. Manogatan, where desires exist? In the mind. And what desires? All desires. When one, Prajahati, drops all desires that exist in the mind, then Atmani eva Atmana Tushtaha. Because, how are they able to do that? Atmani, in the self, Atmana, by the self, eva, alone, Tushtaha. They are rejoicing in the self, by the self alone. Tada, then that being is Sthitaprajna. That being is Sthitaprajna Uchate. It's called Sthitaprajna. So how does this translate? When a man completely casts off, man, woman, any being completely casts off, O Partha, all the desires of the mind and is satisfied in the self by the self, then they are said to be one of steady wisdom. So let's look at this. Now, when one casts off all desires in the mind, then, and one revels in the self, they are a person of steady wisdom. Is this at all possible? So first, let's look at where are desires, and what is a desire? Okay. So the first point is, what is a desire? A desire is a thought. A desire is a thought. How do you know it's a thought? Because manogatan, it exists in the mind. When the mind is there, desire is there. When the mind is not there, like deep sleep, desire is not there. So the first thing to know about desire is it exists in the mind. It is the nature of the mind, but it is not the nature of Atma. It exists in the mind, but it does not exist in the self. So the desire is in the mind. And because it's in the mind, it is not our intrinsic nature. It's not in the self. Now, desire is a thought that exists in the mind. What kind of thought is a desire? The nature of the thought is I want. This is the thought of desire. I want that. I want that. Now, why does that I want that thought? Why does that thought come? Because I want that to be happy. This is the thought process of desire. I want that to be happy. I want this to be happy. So that's number 1 point. Second point is, So what does that tell us? It tells us that all of our desires are nothing but the desire to be happy. We are not desiring objects. We're not desiring people, relationships, or money or fame. We're desiring to be happy. Why? Because let's say I want pizza to make me happy. Okay, fine. But the minute that pizza makes me sad, I don't want it anymore. Right? So I'm not desiring the pizza, I'm desiring the happiness. I desire to be in a relationship because I want to be happy. So, but the minute that person makes me sad, I don't want that person anymore. So it means it's not that I don't want that person. I want happiness. I want happiness. I don't want that person because when that person doesn't give me happiness, I want that person out. I want happiness. It's not that I want an experience. I want happiness. If I'm going through an experience, I'm hoping it'll make me happy. But the minute that experience doesn't make me happy, I want it to go. I want it to go. So I'm not desiring that experience. I'm desiring happiness. In every single desire that we have is the underlying desire for happiness. We're not desiring anything else. We don't want anything else, but we want happiness. This is the truth of the matter. So now we have seen where is desire? It's in our mind. What is this nature of desire thought? I want this to be complete. Therefore, what does that lead us to? We really don't want anything. We want happiness. That's why we want that thing, because we think it gives us happiness. But the minute it doesn't, we don't want it anymore. So we really want happiness. Now, why do I desire happiness? Why do I desire it? What is the cause of desire? The cause of desire is because I'm ignorant, as we have seen. I don't know that I am the self, which is the source of happiness. I am the self, which is the nature of happiness. I think I am this body, mind, intellect. I think that this world is absolutely real, and therefore I desire everything to make me happy. So this desire comes from ignorance. I think I'm the body, and I think this world is real, so let me enjoy and do all of these things for my body. I think I'm the mind, so let me engage in all of these wonderful social activities so that I can make my mind happy. So the root cause of this desire is really ignorance. Now the wise person has knowledge. If ignorance breeds desire, knowledge breeds desirelessness. Because we are ignorant, we desire the world. Because they are wise, they have absolutely no desire for the world. Because they know that they are the source. They are the source of happiness. So why are they going to look outside? Atmani, atmana eva tushtaha. How a billionaire would look upon a $10 bill. How a clothing manufacturer would look upon a piece of cloth. How somebody so famous would look upon some post. Like that, somebody who is reveling inside within the self looks upon the world. The world cannot tempt them. The world doesn't interest them. The world doesn't even make them blink. When we say, I want to be happy, we are making the ego so real. Oh, who wants to be happy? The ego. I want to be happy. The ego wants to be happy. So when we say, I want to be happy, we've identified with this ego. When we say the world can make me happy, a world meaning all beings, all objects, all things, all experiences. The world can make me happy, meaning we think this world is real. We think this world is absolutely real. But for the wise person who's already falsified their ego, who is the I who would want to be happy? And for this wise being who's falsified this world and understood it to be an appearance, what world is there that will make them happy? So because they're so rooted in this knowledge, there is desirelessness. But those who are not rooted in this knowledge, those who are rooted in ignorance, then that mind is full of desires. Now, a question might come, but are you saying that there are no desires in a person who has steady wisdom? Are you saying that desires don't come at all? That we will see the answer to that next week. Okay, we will see in detail next week because that will take some more explanation. But for today, you just hold on. Today, there's so many things I told you, so I think you have enough to chew on. I'll just take a few moments to summarize, and then I know you will have questions, so I will take those up. Today, we, is a very important class. So if you need to listen to it again, listen to it again, but it's important to understand these concepts. Today we saw, in brief, what I'll tell you, Karma Yoga. What's the result of Karma Yoga? Purity of mind, in other words, Vairagya, dispassion from the world. You're not interested in the world anymore. What's the result of Jnana Yoga? Self-realization. What is Jnana Yoga? Shravanam, Mananam, Nidithiyasana. Shravanam, understanding the message of the scriptures, and understanding knowledge is that which will give us liberation. Mananam is having doubtlessly clear understanding about this. You may have other doubts about other things, but about that Brahman is the ultimate truth, and about the world as an appearance, there's no doubt. Nidithiyasana means just mulling over this knowledge, just contemplating on it. You can do it in moving, in walking, in sitting, and also, most importantly, while sitting quietly. Just put your mind in that knowledge. Let it absorb, let it sink in. Because if it doesn't sink in, it doesn't manifest in our lives. So then one gains that aparoksha jnana, right? With the grace of Guru, Shastra, you gain that knowledge. But somehow we're not able to hold on to it, right? It's like it's there, but I don't know why we're not able to live it. We're not able to abide in it. It's not steady. Yes, that happens, and it's a phase. It will happen. It's good because then we know where we are. So then what we have to do is really work on these two sadhanas, which I had mentioned, vasana kshaya, which is really to inquire deeply on these vasanas that are troubling us and the roots of them, and also to do manonasha, or what we call samadhi abhyasa, to sit quietly, spend time in quietude, and contemplate on that knowledge even more. When we do that, even more, the knowledge becomes firm. And when that knowledge becomes firm, then that is called Sthitaprajna. Then I'll be able to manifest that knowledge. In what way? Effortlessly. It will be effortless for me. Effortless for me to be good, be dharmic, be equanimous. It's effortless. Like the person who's driving now everywhere, the highway, here, there. It doesn't take, we don't have to think about it. It becomes part and parcel of who we are. And when we are in that, then there will be a lot of beauty in the way that we live in the world. We will live the best kind of life. We will do what we were born to do. We will be who we are meant to be. Okay? So now I'll say the closing prayer, and then whoever has questions, please stay back. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.